Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Gears 12, and today I'm reviewing the new album from August Burns Red entitled Rescue and Restore. This is their 6th studio album. I did review their album they put out last year, which is entitled Sled and Hill, which is a compilation album of Christmas songs, and they turned them into metal songs. It was very interesting to listen to that album, and to me at least, it got high praise from me because it was a very good album, a very good sounding album, and they took these classic Christmas songs and turned them into metal. It's very interesting to listen to. But now, not even a full year later after that album released, we have now some original content from them. And I've been a fan of this band for a couple years now, and I've heard some of their older stuff as well, besides Sled and Hill. And the first thing that came to my mind when I've heard this album in its entirety for the first time, the first thing that hit my mind is that this band is expanding. This band is pushing the limits of metalcore. To me, this album doesn't really feel metalcore. It feels like melodic metalcore, or melodic metal, if you want to call it that, because the metalcore elements are here on this album, but it sounds like that this band is going in the more technical areas, more melodic areas. They're pushing the boundaries. Like, they're trying to expand on just the typical genre of metalcore. They're actually pushing the limits. And I enjoy that a band wants to expand from this certain genre. They want to expand out and try some new things and see if it works. And for me, this album works. This album sounds amazing. They have amazing song structures. The songs are very powerful. And what's really good is that each song on this album sounds individual. Meaning that hearing one song and then hearing another song, most of the time they sound completely different song structure and what they put into the song to make it stand out. That's what I enjoyed. Of course, I have my computer here to make sure I don't screw up song names and I don't screw up band member names, because that's just bad if I screw anything up. So, what I really noticed is that the opener, Provision, that it has this like little slide in. It was like really soft, and you slide into the sound, and then this melodic guitar starts playing, and then the song jumps into it, and you're going, whoa. Like, that was my first thought, was going, whoa. The first 10 seconds of the whole entire album just blew me away already. I'm like, I'm in for a really amazing album, and I sure was the whole entire ride. Treatment, which is the second track, really blew me away. Spirit Breaker, which starts off with these really clean guitar tone, clean guitar riff, it made me go, wow. Like, it sounds beautiful, but it sounds dark at the same time, because they're not an E standard guitar, they're lower than that. And it just sounded just beautiful and dark at the same time, and it was an amazing track. It really stood out from the first two songs. It just gave me something just a lot different with what was happening on that track alone. Beauty and Tragedy. I think, for me personally, Beauty and Tragedy is probably my personal favorite track. I'm not saying it's the best song on the whole album. I'm not saying it is the best song. But for me, I got so much out of that track. That track just had a lot of different styles of stuff they're trying to throw into it, and just really a beautiful thing entitled Beauty and Tragedy. It makes perfect sense why it's called that, because that song, to me, really stood out the most on this album. The First Step, which was the closer of the album, which is a very interesting way to title the final song on the album, kind of felt like it was a summarization of what you just listened to for the 10 tracks before that one. It's really interesting that there's 11 tracks on this album. There's about 48 minutes of material, getting close to 49 minutes, and for me, it didn't feel that long, but that's pretty good, because it does keep on going, and it doesn't feel like you're sitting there for 48 minutes, but the music is so good at that point, for me personally, that it doesn't matter how long. It could have been an hour and 30 minutes, and I probably wouldn't have cared, because each song had something new into it, something exciting, maybe a guitar riff here that stood out, that maybe didn't sound like anything else on the previous tracks, or the fact that the vocalist is trying to do something really aggressive here and trying to give you this really aggressive feel, or the fact that the drums are doing something that blow you away, like, how is he doing that? Or maybe it's the bass guitar that stands out on this album. There's a lot of bass guitar moments. There's all these different things that happen on each track that made me just go, there's so much stuff to like. Like, each track is individual. There's like all these things that this album just keeps giving more and more stuff each time I listen to it. Each time I listened to it, there was something new, something different, and something that stood out each time I listened to it. There's something different that stood out, something different here, something different there. All these things combined make an impressive album from this band, and I just can't give it enough praise. It really just stood out as an amazing record. Let me go off into the sound of the band, going through each of the band members and all that stuff. So let me go up here to the band. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about Jake on vocals. Jake on vocals. Like I said before talking about this album, is that he gave an impressive performance here. What I really caught from him is that the low growls are really dark. And then the other growls that he's doing on the album, which are medium growls, I personally call them, is that they are trying to grab your attention when you're not listening to the instrumentation on this album, trying not to listen to the guitars, the bass, and the drums. He's trying to tell you something. The lyrics on this album vary on each track, and I enjoy that there's different types of lyrics, different styles of lyrics on each track, so it's not a consistent thing of, oh, I've already heard this before on the other track. There's always new things to get, and I just enjoy what he's doing on this album lyrically and vocally, because he's always giving like a different style of vocals on every performance, trying to make his vocals stand out on each track, so you know that there's that other element, that he's trying to sound a little bit different, trying to give you a little bit different thing than go in the same growl type. He's trying to do something a little bit different to catch your attention, and I enjoyed that. JB and Brent on rhythm and lead. Let's talk about the rhythm first from Brent. Brent gave a tight performance. The guitar tone on this album for the rhythm was very heavy and aggressive, and I enjoy that because there's a lot of heavy and crunchy riffs on this album. There's a lot of fast technical riffs on this album, so that guitar tone had to be tight, and that guitar tone had to be heavy to keep up with what the riffs were doing, because there's a lot of different styles of riffs on this album that if that guitar tone would have been different, maybe this album would, for me personally, would have been taken differently, but that guitar tone was heavy and it was right for what the riffs they were doing on this album, and it fit and it worked. So big props to Brent. And for JB on lead, there's a lot of melodic stuff on this album. There's a lot of melodies. There's some guitar solo moments, if you want to call them. But mainly, the reason why I said that this is more of a melodic metalcore album is the fact that there's a lot of lead stuff. There's a lot of harmonies. There's a lot of melodies that are happening on this album, that each track had a unique melody to it that made me enjoy it more, because I'm really a guitar lover as well as a music lover. Hearing just all these melodies and hearing all these different riffs from Brent and JB and the solo work from JB, it just felt like a roller coaster ride hearing all these guitar stuff. So if you're a guitar fanatic and you love listening to all different styles of riffs, all different styles of melodies and stuff like that and solo work, this album will blow you away. I think it will, because it did for me, and I just want to keep playing guitar to get to that level, because there was just some really impressive stuff happening rhythm-wise and lead-wise on this album. Definitely recommend it to guitar lovers out there. Let's talk about Dustin on bass and backing vocals. There are some really good backing vocals on this album, so big props to him for that. The bass guitar, like I said before earlier in the review, did stand out. There was some bass moments that really stood out to me, some really loud moments where the bass was actually doing something to catch your attention, and the fact that maybe only the drums and the vocalists were doing something, and then here we go with the bass guitar playing along, so Dustin did a good job on that, so big props to Dustin. The bass guitar tone, good. Bass playing, good. So made for a good bass player and a good bass thing on this album. Let's talk about Matt on drums. What I love about the drumming on this album is that it's aggressive when it wants to be. When the guitars are just going crazy and when the song is getting hectic, the drums are hectic and make it even sound more aggressive, more hectic. The drums are making it louder and making it tighter and making it go, let's take it home. Let's go crazy. Let's end this song on a bang, and that's what the drums do. When the songs are pulled back in more of a crunchy mode, or maybe they're just pulling it back for the these clean riffs or something like that, or the fact that the song is pulling back in the middle section, the drums are soft when they want to be and heavy when they need to be, and that's what I enjoyed. The drumming on this album was very good. The sound is very massive when it wants to be, and it's quiet and peaceful when it wants to be and when it needs to be. So big props to Matt on drums for doing this and making this album sound very, very well on the drums. Said that right? Probably not. But anyways, drums, really, really good. So overall, this album is impressive. Rescue and Restore just really had an amazing sound to it. They're pushing the limits, and it shows on this album. So big props to August Burns Red for doing this for their 6th studio album release. I'm excited to see what 7th studio album release is going to be. What is the 7th album? We don't know. Maybe they'll push the limits even more. Who knows what they're going to do. But for me, this album gets a 8.5 out of 10. Maybe 8.75 on a good day. But in overall fairness, 8.5 out of 10. It's a really good fair score for this album. It's really amazing. Go check it out if you're an August Burns Red fan. And if you've never heard the band and you're curious after seeing the review, go check out their stuff, see what you think. I think you'll enjoy this album. Really stood out, made me happy. So there you go. That's my review, guys. If you liked the video, like the video. And if you like me and you want to see more, click my name or subscribe to see more. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.